Now then everyone, special video today. This is one that features the restoration of a 17-year-old GT Avalanche 1.0. This has been languishing in my mum's garage for the best part of 15 years. And I saw it the other week when I went in to get some bits and pieces. And I thought, why not try and revive it? And as you'll see from the video that follows, it was a bit of a sorry state, but once cleaned up, it does genuinely look like new. I woke up this morning a little bit impulsive, and I thought, I've been thinking about doing upgrades to the bike, and like what's the sort of newest thing, the lightest thing, etc, etc. And then I thought, what a load of bollocks. This is a bike I'm going to resurrect. It's a GT Avalanche 1.0. 27 speed LX rear mech. I'm guessing it might be a Dior front. It is a Dior front derailleur. 3 rings, triple ring, granny style. Quite an old-fashioned saddle on that one. So it's a GT WTB GT saddle. That's the original saddle. Aluminium frame 6061. GT badge, GT stem. It's pretty much original is this one actually, to be honest. V brakes, rim brakes, Suntour X100 front fork. As you can see, the tyres are absolutely shot. It's covered in cobwebs. So I've not even attempted to blow the tyres up, see if there's any air in them, because the tubes have just perished. So it's not really worth the hassle. But these parts are in really good condition. The frame itself, there's no marks on it as far as I can see. It needs a good clean. I'm going to take some of these bits off, obviously take the bike lock off. That adds about 2 kilos. Take this crud catcher off. It's got a lockout fork, albeit it's a bit basic, but there's barely any rust on it at all. So the plan is to strip it all down, give it a really good clean, replace the tyres, the tubes and the cables, because I think they're all pretty knackered, to be fair, just with age, and then just rebuild it all and see what it's like. So I don't want to do it too much of a Frankenstein bike. I want to keep it as original as possible and just use it for a quick blast out here and about for nostalgia more than anything. In these days of recycling, why not recycle an old bike? Have a look in your shed, see what you've got, and instead of letting it rot, try and bring it back. Right, let's get some cleaning. Right, so that's the first clean done, and it already looks better. That looks quite in good shape actually, does that bike? For its age, that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is strip it down further, take the wheels off, take all these additional bits off, and then give it a proper clean so I can get a bit more access to it with the wheels off it, etc., and take the cables off. I'll take some photographs to catalogue it all, so I don't forget what goes where. But yeah, let's come back in a bit. So then the bike's been stripped down and cleaned. As you can see, it's not totally stripped, and what I've done is I've cleaned all around the dropouts and the rear. The rear derailleur looks really good condition actually. You can see that it's been cleaned, etc. There's still a bit of dirt in there, but I've sprayed some GT85 in there just to give it a bit of a clean and lube, let that soak in for a bit, and then I think in a couple of days time I'm going to come back once I've got my spare parts, and then look at cleaning, final cleaning, assembly and re-grease. One thing I did notice actually is when I've put these, when I cleaned the bike and dried it, the shifters, I should show you there, I think the cables are in pretty good condition. As you can see, it's going through the gears, no problem, it's not sticking. So I'm not sure, I actually need to change the gear cables at least. Anyway, the front derailleur seems to be shifting. I think it needs tightening, to be fair, but I think with a little bit of elbow grease, I think that will clean up. So I may not need to change the cables on that. The brake cables, I think, again, are going to be fine. They don't look like they're worn, anything like that, and they're not stretched. So they're a pretty simple, sort of straightforward quick fix, because the cable, the barrel adjuster just fits in there, as you can see. Just where my thumb is. So that's a pretty simple swap over. All the cables are external, so it's not going to be too much of a job, even if I do have to switch it over. I think the only thing I will be changing is that saddle, because it looks like Oliver Cromwell might use that to get to his battles. It looks pretty old. I mean, the condition of it is okay, but it's a little bit chunky, padded compared to today's saddles. But who knows? I'll give it a go. I'll get it assembled, give it a go, and see what it feels like. The forks, I don't know if I went through it earlier, but the lockout on there, this has all been sprayed up with lubricant. I'm going to let it soak in, as I said. But everything looks really good condition. I've put some silicone spray on this frame, and it does actually look quite shiny. There's no blistering that I can see whatsoever. The only mark I've seen on it really is on the head tube, where the cables have rubbed there. But I've got some frame protection stickers, so I can quite easily put those on. So I think at this moment in time, all it's going to cost me is a set of tyres and a set of inner tubes, and some brake pads as well, obviously, because I'm not going to trust these. They look a bit scored, so it'll do with a freshen up with some brake shoes on it as well. Right, I'm going to change the brake blocks or brake pads out for these Clark MTB Elite pads. So let's get installing those. Replace these crappy warm ones. So these Clark's pads are on the rear, very straightforward to fit. There's no rubbing, nice stopping. And now I'm going to do the front ones and switch those over. So that's the Clark brake pads fitted, and they're running nice and smooth. There's no rubbing on those at the moment. I adjusted the levers, quite nice levers actually, Avid. And I've got a travel adjuster there for the lever that I've only just noticed in all the years of owning it. The shifters are in good nick too. Not actually done anything with these yet. They're looking pretty clean, to be fair. pretty much complete. I've got a 10-speed chain on there that I had already in the garage from the Trig build actually, before I upgraded it. That's now 11-speed, so that's gone nicely on there. I've cleaned up the original cassette, might replace that at some point. 9-speed. New tyres, hands Dampf, they're a pretty good tyre, for a rear tyre at least. Clark's brake pads, and as you can see the frame is in really good condition. There's barely any marks on it, to say that it's 17 years old at the time of recording this. The forks as well, also good nick. Seals look okay. It's had a pretty good clean. Just put a frame protection sticker on there where I notice the cables have been scuffing. Front tyre, Magic Mary. These rims are Alex rims. These are original rim brake. Clark's pads on the front. It's got a speed lock on there which does work. You can have it full lock. I think you can kind of gradient it as well, so obviously the more towards a closed position the slower the damping, but they're pretty basic. They were basic I suppose back then, all built to a price, but yeah, it's all ready for a test ride on the next day off. So, how different does this feel to a modern day bike, given this is only 17 years old, which is not that old I suppose, but technology wise things have evolved. So this has got a triple chainring at the front, it's got a I think 1134 at the back, 9-speed. Not sure what the shifters are, I think the DR, but this is the original spec with the exception of the tyres and tubes, which I had to change because they were rotten. Everything on it, bars, bar ends, saddle, cranks, all is original. So, how does this differ from a modern day bike? It's not that old in its 17 years, but technology wise things have moved on quite a bit actually. I've done about a mile or 2 miles on it so far, steady away, and so far it's very, very smooth actually. The tyres on this are slightly wider than the originals, which I think the 2.1s, these are 2.4 at the front. So that bit of Singletrack was okay. Not sure about the front derailleur setup, I think that needs adjustment. He's rubbing the chain. But other than that, okay. I think I've forgotten how much flex there is in a square tapered bottom bracket. So if I was going to keep it, obviously that's one of the first things that I change. But let's do a few road miles. Okay, so a bit of on the fly adjustment with the front derailleur tensioner on the handlebar controls. Seems to have sorted out that rubbing. Nice and quiet now. So these wheels are Alex rims 26. Not sure what internal they are, maybe 19mm, but tyres are 26 by 2.4s. So quite a lot of air, and I'm running these at about 40 psi with inner tubes. It does feel rather cushioned. I'm just looking at the travel indicator on the forks, and I've not done much any kind of serious off-roading, but used about half the travel so far. It's weird having these bar ends on as well. They used to be quite a thing, didn't they, in the 90s, early 2000s.
They're quite comfy. The bars are narrower than what modern bars would be. Probably about maybe 720, I don't know. I'd have to measure it. But it feels good. This saddle, although it's quite old-fashioned, it's quite chunky, it's actually really comfortable. It just looks a bit outdated. But it's a smart looking bike. Let's stop and I'll show you it. So here we are on this beautiful day. Got to be the warmest day of the year. It's proper short sleeves weather today. But this is the bike. So GT Avalanche 1.0. You can see the hand stamped tyres on the back. The new Clark brake pads there working well, no squeaking. But the general condition of the paintwork, apart from this mud, is really good. Got DR shifters on the front. GT 6061 riser bar, original. I do like the GT badge on the stem. We've got Avid cable brake levers. And these brakes, they're working really well. I know there's a lot to be said for hydraulic brakes, but I think cables are so much easier to maintain. The saddle, as I've said, is quite chunky, quite padded. A bit like your granny would have, but it is really comfortable, so it works. The bar ends, Outland, these are, I think. I purchased these soon after I bought it. And these will be, I'm guessing, ergo grips, I can't remember, but we got that look to them. They're comfortable as well. But all in all, very nice. So, another project I've got, now this one's pretty much complete, is I've got a 2001 Kona Blast, which was my brother's, so technically still is my brother's, but it's given me permission to do it up and sell it. So I'm looking forward to doing that and hopefully start that in the next week or so. I think the gears on that are even older. They're the old integrated gear and brakes. I think the DR3 speed up front and 8 or 9 on the rear. So that'll be interesting. Not sure whether to do that a one by, make it a bit simple, maybe a mix of new and old, some wider bars, some nice chunky tyres like these, but we'll see. So stay tuned and please like and subscribe, and you'll see all the updates about the other bike. As far as the frame goes on this bike, it's quite nice actually. It's quite, obviously it's cushioned with the tyres and whatnot, but it's quite rattle and buzz free. I think in these times of cost of living crisis, it's definitely a thumbs up from me for getting hold of a cheap or resurrecting an old bike of your own that's sat in a shed. Just make a bit of a project out of it. There's a lot of deals around at the moment for bits of kit with the closing down and revamping of certain brands like Wiggle, so you might better get some bargains. There's a lot of interesting videos on YouTube of people doing restorations. A lot of them seem to be the 90s. Seems to be a lot of interest for 90s bikes. I suppose they were sort of beginning of the mountain bike genre. A lot of the earlier brands like Diamondback, Mongoose, Gary Fisher, they all seem to be popular. Kona as well. I do like the Kona. My first proper bike was a Kona Fire Mountain in 2001. And I'll add some pictures so you can see and have a laugh. But that was a lovely bike. And my brother's Kona Blast was purchased around the same time. I just like the frames, like the decals. Quite a stylish bike. I think mixed with new components, it'll look even better. So back out this trail, more mud. I do like this bike. God, I'm using fatter tyres as well because it's squirming around a bit on that mud. So my first ever bike build was in, I think, 2002, 2003. I bought a frame from a company called Handsome Dog. I don't think they exist anymore, but got a blue Handsome Dog bike. Out of it, some rock shocks. I think they were Duke forks, and I'll stick a picture up of that. Had to get a bit of tweaking to get the geometry right, because I didn't know anything about geometry. Still don't, but it's more accessible on the internet now. But that was a nice bike and a good learning curve. Now then, hi, it's warm in it today. Beautiful. Not sure how much this bike weighs. I think it's not exceptionally light, that's for certain. But having said that, with the setup it's got currently, 3 by and 9 at the back, it's actually quite nice to ride. There's plenty of range. I did toy with the idea of making this 1 by as well, or going 2 by, but I don't know if I will. It's nice to have a bit of retro. Enjoy that. Not sure what brand these hubs are, but they're so quiet compared to today's standard of hubs with the ratchets and stuff. These 26-inch wheels don't feel massively different to 27.5s. I think maybe overall speed, top speed would be a little bit slower, I think, but that's not what I'm about. So but if you have a chance to get one of these GTs, go for it. Considering you could probably get one for 100 quid on eBay, and then about 50-60 quid maybe. It needs tyres and tubes, a couple of cables. I think that's it. I had a 10-speed chain that was lying around that had barely been used, so I've utilised that, and that works well on the 9-speed. So if you've got a load of bits in your garage or your workshop, it might be even cheaper. I was surprised actually looking through parts that I thought for some reason 26-inch tyres would be quite scarce, but it seems not. Don't know if a lot of jump bikes are 26, maybe that's the case, but yeah, you're not short of inner tubes and whatnot. I think the tyres combined were £39 from Merlin. They're about 40% off. So I ordered some of those. Something else I did get, I've ordered for the corner, is a pair of Panaracer Fire XC Pros with red sidewalls, which I used to have on my Fire Mountain. That bike was gold in colour, and it looked well. The Kona Blast is going to be silver, so I might go for a silver and red and black motif on that. Who knows? Darling. So if you're still watching, thank you. It's been a little bit longer than my normal video. Please like and subscribe. Tell me what you think. If you've got any ideas of what you do to this bike, or if you're doing your own bike, let me know a few tips, and I'll see you again.